think so. Service coordinators are working out there while we have this meeting. I'm going to see. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Susan, one of the supervisors.
Hi, Susan.
And who am I speaking to?
I'm Sandy.
Hi, Sandy. We have our early intervention staff here ready to go.
Okay, and about how many people are there in the room?
Oh, maybe 40, 50?
Okay, and if you don't mind, if you could just do a show of hands and then count for me. How many have had some experience with any kind of BoardMaker in the past?
Oh, it's probably everybody.
Everybody, okay. Good answer. Okay, good. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me some time today to get started with BoardMaker Online. I'm Sandy. As you heard, I'm talking to you from Dallas, Texas, where it is about to rain, but otherwise fine. What we will do today procedurally is 99% of the time I'll be in the software. You'll see it on the big screen, and you will be following along, hands on your keyboard, following along with what I am doing. There will be a few occasions, 3 or 4, when I will ask that you stop and just watch for a minute. Mostly these are because of things that you will probably think you know how to do, but that we now do differently in BoardMaker Online. So I'll just call your attention to a few specific things that I'll want you to watch carefully. As we go through, please don't be shy. If you have a question or a problem, let me know. If you're thinking it, probably someone else is too. And I'm happy to go to questions as we go through the next couple hours. There may be occasions when I defer the question, but for the most part, please stay current with me. And I can't see you because it's a web training, so let me know if I need to go faster or slower. Just keep me posted on what's happening there. I like to start off by letting everyone know there is help right in your software. You've logged in, you see a red toolbar, there's a help tab. And underneath that help tab live written tutorials, video tutorials. Yes?
This is Susan. I want to make sure everybody can get into the program.
Okay.
Didn't bring their, maybe I'm stopping prematurely, but I don't.
No, I would love everyone to be in their software.
How many of you can get in there? Maybe 5 minutes, maybe a few minutes here to get everybody in there.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Yep, so you can just go to, yep, okay.
Sandy, we're still working on it.
Okay.
How many of you are still working on getting in there? Okay. Sandy,
Yes.
we've got just one or two more that are resetting passwords from the previous time that they were setting up an account.
Okay.
So just a few more minutes.
Okie doke.
Okay, I think I'm going to have her get started, guys. Okay, Sandy, go ahead and get started.
All right, all right. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. What I'm going to do without further ado is get right into my software. So here it is. Hopefully you're seeing on my screen something very similar to what you're seeing on your own as you're logged in. When you log in, you're always going to land on your home page, and you know it's your home page because it says my home page right there. And you'll see a red toolbar running across the top. And this red toolbar is the navigation path for almost everything in the software. If you can't remember where something is, that red toolbar is a good place to start. At the very top, sometimes you'll see a message, usually in blue, and it's just trying to alert you to either an update or something new. You can close that banner. There's a little X in a box to the right of it, so you can close it and get it out of your way. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at how to create both activities that one might print and activities that could be played interactively on a computer or a smart board or an iPad. We're also going to take a minute and I'll show you how to add a student account to your instructor account, and then we'll use that student as we go through. We will look at how to access activities shared on the community, but let's start off with going to look at how we might create activities. From your red toolbar, let's click the My BoardMaker tab. And if you've already been in your software and you have made anything or brought anything in from the community, you see them here under My Activities. So within the My BoardMaker tab is where, quote, My Activities live. It's also where we see a button that says Create Activity. So let's click Create Activity and make our way towards the editor. The first place we stop here at this little landing screen is where we would make a decision about if we're going to create from scratch, or what they're calling a new blank activity, or if we're going to use a template. For this exercise, we're going to start with a blank activity. So please click the blue button, New Blank Activity. And if you haven't been into a program that uses Adobe in the past few days, they've just had an update. You may have a little Adobe note up here on your browser line. You may need to click that and then click Allow. And then here we are in the editor. So the first thing you want to do upon landing on this little page, and you'll notice when we landed, it was small. We could kind of drag it around. You could still see your My BoardMaker page below. We want to always work in full screen. In whatever screen you're working in BMO, make it big. If you've used BoardMaker in the past, this looks familiar, right? So we see some very common things from this version and that, starting in the upper left, 3 tabs, File, Edit, Help. That orange arrow pointing to the left is Undo. So if you do something you wish you hadn't, you can undo, and you can undo several steps. And then beside it, Redo. And then there is a toolbar. And as you hover your cursor across that row of tools, they all tell you what they are. You'll see rulers, and the rulers are legitimate. So what the ruler is telling me is that we are in landscape mode. By default, you are in landscape mode on pages, and that's intentional so that if you were creating something that you would play on a computer, that it would be aligned to a computer screen, which is also in more landscape mode. If we're making something to print and you would prefer it be in a more traditional piece of paper kind of mode, we can change that orientation. So go to File tab, and from the drop-down menu, choose Page Setup. And there's all of this on the left we can ignore, and on the right, you'll just see the little tick mark is currently in landscape. If you would prefer to have a portrait mode, just put the tick mark in the portrait circle. I'm going to leave mine at landscape because it shows more of my screen. And whichever you've chosen, just click OK. Very quick trip, since you all are BoardMaker professionals of the past. Let's go back to that File tab and just very briefly visit User Settings. You may never go here again, but I just want to show you what's there. Corresponds with user settings in your disk version. 3 areas: interface, access, text-to-speech, and symbol and language. Interface, basically what you see when you're working, specifically in the editor, what you are seeing on your editor workspace. Most people don't change anything here, except some disk users like to have more or less space between buttons when you spray. You see mine are set at 0. By default, they're 0.5 inches, so that when we make a button and spray a grid of buttons, by default, you're going to have a small space. I like no space, so I made mine 0s. If you like a larger space, make the value larger. The second tab, Access Method, we can, any activity that is made with a template in BoardMaker Online may be played using alternate access. Typically, we manage that at the student level, though. In a student's profile, it makes more sense to set access so that every time Johnny opens an assignment, it's in his particular scanning pattern. So we're going to leave that alone for now. Text-to-speech is where the voices are. There's 2 North American English-speaking voices, Zero Pro and Helen. You might have a preference. I think Zero Pro sounds less mechanical. And then finally, symbol and language. This is the important one. This is where all your BoardMaker symbols are. And you have every single symbol we ever made. You don't no longer have to buy addendums. But note that you have a little scroll bar here on the right, and you have check marks there on the left. So scroll through and make sure that all the libraries that you have interest in have a check mark. Mine are all checked, except I recommend communicating about sexuality be unchecked. It's very explicit. If you need it for a social story for an 8th grader, come in, turn it on, make your social story, and then discontinue it. Since you're all early childhood, I'm guessing that's not going to be relevant. Other countries you may or may not want access to, but way at the bottom, there are some niche libraries. So if you want access to the sign language symbols, be sure there's a check mark there. There's a sign language and mini sign language. So just be sure that any of these niche libraries have a check mark if you want them. Once you've added or removed check marks, this is your new default. You don't ever have to come back here again unless you want to change something. So let's click Submit, which will get us out of here and back where we were. And the basic element of anything we would make, just like previous versions, is a button, and there's a tool for that. Third from the left in your toolbar, please click the button tool. The background turns darker, it lets you know it's selected. You don't have to drag. I'm just moving the cursor over the white space. It brings that green blob, that's fine. Anywhere you want, click, drag, and you have a button. Again, button tool, click, drag. Once you have a button, you can click in the middle of it and change its position on the page. Once you have a button, you can resize by selecting it. Make sure it's got the red fence. Put your cursor in the corner, see a double arrow, click, and drag to resize. So your rulers are accurate, so please be sure that your button is a size that's appropriate for you. And if you have a spare, like I do, I have the spare button I don't want, we just select it and then use the delete key on your keyboard to delete. Please leave a little bit of room at the top and move your button over to the left margin. Let's make some more buttons just like it. And as always, we're going to use the spray tool. So click the spray tool one time, it turns darker. Again, I don't have to drag, just move your cursor over the one button you have, click and drag in any direction. When you release, you have a grid of buttons and they're all selected. And of course, just like before, no rule that says you have to spray a grid. You can spray a column or a row or any configuration that you want. The spray just goes wherever you drag it. Once we have the buttons, once I've released from the spray, all of the buttons are selected, and we want to be able to manipulate all the buttons at once for 47 different reasons over the next couple of hours. So click over in the gray area where nothing is selected, and let's just be sure we know how to select them all. There's a tool for that, selection tool in your toolbar. It looks like an arrow. Click that arrow, and again, not dragging, just moving the cursor over the first button, click, drag the skinny red line, and when you release, they're all selected. With them all selected, it's like one giant button. You can click in the middle of any of them and move them around. You can click in the corner of any of them, see the double arrow, and resize them as a bunch. Everyone doing okay? I think you might be muted. All right, well, let me know if there's anything I can do. I am not hearing you at all. I hope you are hearing me. Okay, I hear you now.
Can you hear us?
Yay!
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now, thank you.
Okay.
I was getting lonely. Everybody good? Yeah. Okay, all right, so let's populate the button. So of course we're gonna click off of the white space because like always, we're gonna populate one button at a time. But here is my first occasion of please just watch because this is different. I click on a button, even though I've got those great tools and now I've got a properties panel on the right, not going to use any of that. I click on a button and without paying any attention to even where the cursor is, I'm just going to type a label, a word. It goes right there in the middle. I use my keyboard and enter, takes me to a symbols panel where the BoardMaker symbols show up. I could click on any of these I want and then enter, and it jumps in the button. All right, that's called edit in place. That helps you remember you don't have to use tools or symbols panel. Click on a button, hands on your keyboard, type a label, and please feel free, you can use any vocabulary. Enter, choose a symbol, and enter. Click on a button, type, enter, enter. All right, so if you think it's not happening, just be sure the button is selected and your hands are on your keyboard. Tell me how I can help. Everybody good?
Some of them are saying they're typing the word but not getting the picture.
Okay, when you type the word, you have to hit enter on your keyboard to take you to the symbols panel. Did that help?
I think they're working it out. I think it's, Linda, are you, no? Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. We're okay now?
Okay. Okay, so we saw it's just type and enter. You do have to hit enter in order to take the trip over to the symbols panel. I can use this same process almost and grab other symbols besides picture communication symbols. So please, here's my second occasion. Please just watch. I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to type a label and enter. We already know what's going to happen. I see BoardMaker symbols. What if I want a symbol from the web? Look at the top of my symbols panel. I have a tab that says web search. I'm going to select web search. All the BoardMaker symbols disappeared. I have to launch that web search. I click on the search term and enter, and now I go out into the web and access digital images that match my search. Click on the one I want and enter. And that will jump in my button. Okay, so we start the same way. Click on a button, hands on your keyboard, type a label and enter. You have to hit enter to get over to the symbols panel. You're going to see BoardMaker symbols. To move to a web search, top of the panel, click the web search tab. And then you have to kick off the web search by highlighting your search term and enter. Then you see your results and you can scroll, choose any one you like and enter. All right, so we're using edit in place and we can get symbols from the web, we can get symbols from the BoardMaker library. Third time, I'm going to ask that you just watch. We can also use this process and get any digital images you have on your computer, whether in a folder or on a USB drive. I'm going to start the same way. I'm going to select a button. I'm going to type a label, enter. Could use BoardMaker symbols, could use web search, but look at the bottom left of the symbols panel. I have a button that says browse. Browse means let's go look on my computer, right? So I hit browse. I can navigate on my computer to where my pictures live or to a USB drive, find the picture I want to use, select it, and enter. So if you have pictures of your students or your classroom or your neighborhood, you can bring those in too. Either way, we start the same. We select a button and type a label, enter, and then once you get to the symbols panel, you decide, do I want to use a BoardMaker symbol? Do I want to use a web search? Do I want to browse on my computer? Any questions about anything?
Okay.
Wait.
Oh,
I have a way to delete. I want to talk about deleting. So deleting, edit in place, overwrite. So if you'll watch my screen for a second, you can make changes without deleting, starting with cow. On my screen, gee, now that I think about it, I wish I'd chosen a different symbol. It has the label I want, and we know to get to the symbols panel, we just hit enter. So I've selected that button and I enter. I can choose a different cow and enter, and it will overwrite the one I had. Okay, that said, I can also overwrite a label. My sheep, I wish I'd called it a U-E-W-E. I don't have to remove anything. I just select that button and type what I wish it was, and it overwrites. And I can just replace the whole button without removing anything. Just pretend there's nothing in the button, select the button, type what you wish it was, enter, choose the symbol, and it will replace what you had. Okay, so edit place overwrites. That's going to come in handy later. Erase meaning part of the symbol, like edit the symbol, or erase part of the symbol. Yes, so let's look at that. So what the question was about symbol editing. We can make changes to symbols if you want to. Let's just look at your page, and we do it one at a time. So just click on any one of your BoardMaker symbols that's in a button. And then directly over to the side, we're going to talk all about this properties panel, but with this button selected, I can see the button that says edit symbol. Click edit symbol, and it's going to open in the symbol editor, kind of like in version 6, right? So I see the dog big. I have a whole new toolbar. Everybody find their way here?
Could you repeat the click edit symbol part?
So on this page, just use any one of your button. I'm going to choose a different one. Any one, and then you'll see available within the properties panel in the symbol area a button that says edit symbol. Click edit symbol. And now we're in the symbol editor. We see the symbol big, and we see a different toolbar. Let's run through what these are. So I'm going to go from right to left. This first one is rotate. Click the rotate tool, and now in the properties panel, you see options of things you can do. You can rotate around 90 degrees. You can flip it front to back or side to side. That actually comes in handy. Sometimes you need it oriented a different direction. Next is, I'm back at the top, Invert colors tool. I'm not really sure the utility of that, but you can do it. It just takes the color properties and completely reverses them. Hit it again to undo it. The next one is the fill tool. This is what's most often used. If you want the backpack to look just like Johnny's, that's green with blue stripes, we can paint. So selecting the paint can gives you a color palette and a eyedropper and a contiguous. Eyedropper is a color matcher. So if I click on the eyedropper and I hover over a color, you can see up here, it changed the color in the color palette to I clicked, I grabbed some of this light color, and now when I use the paint can, it will identically match that color. Okay, so that was the eyedropper. You have a color drop down. You can choose any color you like. If your contiguous is checked, it's just going to color within the lines. Okay. If you're contiguous, and there's an undo, look at the top, undo, undo. If your contiguous is unchecked, let's pick a bold color, and you click, everything that's that base color changes at once. Even these arms, they're not really connected, but it's going to color everything that's the base color at once. The next tool is an eraser. There's finally the answer to your question. If you choose eraser, then in your properties panel, you can choose relative size and shape of the eraser. I want mine big and round, and now my cursor is an eraser. Okay, and you can undo that. The next one is the pencil tool. So you've got a drop-down menu where you choose a color. Again, you're choosing relative shape and size of my pencil, and then you can just draw. And if you're pretty skilled, you can write on things, but whatever you want to do. There you go. And then the next one is a lasso tool. Lasso and marquee just allow you to select bits of it and cut, copy, paste bits of it. And marquee does the same thing. It just allows you to select rectangle portions instead of freeform. So once you've made the changes, note, upper right-hand corner, you have a button that says Save to Activity and one that says Save to My Media. Save to My Media puts it in your BoardMaker library. You won't ever have to make that again. So if I click Save to My Media, it needs a name, and I recommend you name it generically. So if you change the way a dog looks, still name it dog, because you'll find it better that way. And then if you want it to be able to symbolate, click Symbolate and click Submit. So it's going to change the gerbil on my page, but now the next time I search use edit place for gerbil, my new weird gerbil is one of my choices in my library. So that's handy. If you're making a story about the Dalmatian and you turn that Labrador into a Dalmatian, you only have to do it once. Just save it and you'll always have it. Good question. While we're talking about stuff over here in this properties panel, let's talk about that some more. You may notice it comes and goes. Something has to be selected on your space to have any properties. So take your cursor and click on the white part of your page, but where there's no buttons. Red line is going around the perimeter. I've selected the background. And now look in the properties panel. Essentially, I've got one property for the background. I can add a background color. Okay, now let's select, in keeping with the rule, whatever is selected, that's what I'm going to see. Select one, or using your selection tool, some or all of your buttons. And let's look at what properties are available to change in these. These are going to be some of the things you liked to change in the other version. So I selected all of my standard buttons. Starting at the top tells me I selected 12. They're standard buttons. Scroll down to label location. Label location, you can have the label at the top, the bottom, the right, the left, no label at all, or no symbol at all. So with my buttons selected, if I hit top, all the words jump to the top. If I hit symbol only, I have no labels. If I hit label only, I have no symbols. So, I mean, that's used for things like a symbol to text match, or sometimes we don't want labels for whatever reason, or we don't want symbols for whatever reason. Below that, we have a whole big area with font and several drop-down menus. You can select font style, font size, text color. You want a different color than black. Text background color is highlighting. That just goes behind the words. Fill is background color of the buttons. Border, the edges of the buttons. Would you like them thicker? Would you like them a color? And then where that line says solid, you can change the edges from a solid line to a dotted line, or a dashed line, or a dotted and dashed line. So if you were going to make something you wanted students to cut out, maybe you'd want to use a dashed line. And then finally, style. There's an area called style. Style really means button shape. If you like nice pointy corners in your buttons, the very top shape is called rectangle button. It puts the points back in the buttons, but there's also circles, triangles, hexagons, octagons, clouds, speech bubbles, 24 different shapes, some of them more practical than others. You never know. You never know when you're going to need a nice cloud button. All right, let's take a minute. When you're working on a project, good idea to name it and save it. From the File tab, choose Save Activity As and give it a name. Any old name, and say okay. And that way, if you guys have a fire drill and you have to run out the door and shut everything down, you won't lose your work. And since there are many of you in one spot using all the same wireless, that may take a sec. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent question. We'll get to that shortly. Two more kinds of buttons I want to talk about. How's everybody doing? Any questions about anything? All right, let's make a second kind of a button. Thus the reason that I wanted some room at the top. So I'm trying to not give you a seizure here with scooching this around. So we want some room on your page. And even with these already populated, I can still use that selection tool, select them all, and I can move them as a group or resize them if I need to. So if you resize after they're already populated, they do maintain their aspect. You can do that just fine. All right, let's make a Symbol 8 button. You know Symbol 8 from version 6. In your toolbar, there's a Symbol 8 tool. Second from the right, looks like a smiley face and a capital A. Click the Symbol 8 button, and then click and drag to draw a Symbol 8 button. Now, I made mine an extended rectangle because, as you'll remember, Symbol 8 is for running text, and I want to keep my running text linear. I made it with the Symbol 8 tool. It's selected here on my page, still got the red fence. So once again, just hands on your keyboard and start typing. And as you type, you get words, but you also get symbols associated with the words. And remember, whatever is selected on your page, you've also got properties. So I typed that. It looks super tiny to me. I'm going to go over to my properties panel. Maybe I need my font bigger. And maybe I want my symbols bigger. My Symbol 8 button is selected. Over in the symbol area, you can use that little toggle and just very incrementally make the symbols bigger, or you can just select that value and put in a bigger number and then give it a second, think about it, and you can make the symbols larger in your Symbol 8 button. We can also change the symbols. So the good thing about Symbol 8 is it's fast, right? It gives me text and words quickly, but it might choose symbols I don't like. So let's fix that. The symbol it chose for animals isn't what I want. So I'm just going to put my cursor on top of the word animals and double click. It's going to give me, quote, candidates. So it's just showing me the symbols panel a different way. I can choose the animals I wish it had chosen and enter, and it'll swap them out. I can also remove symbols. I personally want little function words, maybe to be sight words. I'm going to double click on the, and instead of changing it, I'm just going to say no symbol. I can remove a symbol, but keep the spacing. So you can exchange symbols for other symbols, and you can remove any symbols you don't want. And with that button selected, you can change properties, including font size, borders, pretty much the same things we could change with standard buttons, we can also change here. Fill, remember, was a background color. Border meant the edges, how thick you want the edges, what color you want them, whether you want them dots and dashes. And then style is button shape. Button shape, you may have to do some adjusting since you have an text in a row. If you turn this into a circle, you're probably going to have to pull your edges around to make it work, but you can do it. Any questions about anything? And I promise I am going to get to that group button next. Okay, that was not a text box. That was a symbolate button. So use the symbolate tool and then click and draw. And now whatever you type will give you text and symbols. Okay? Yep.
If you guys have a question, just raise your hand. We're supposed to be asking them in the microphone because they're videotaping it and they're recording everything. So just raise your hand and I'll come over to you.
Okay. So we've made standard buttons. We've made symbolate buttons. We've talked about properties. There is another panel that is by default closed way over on the left against the left margin of your computer, underneath the word file, underneath that symbol tool guy, the tool that looks like 3 pieces of paper and arrows. Click that button and it opens the page panel. Page panel shows you how many pages in your activity. We only made one, so we only have one. With your old version, if you made something with multiple pages, remember you had to kind of name them separately and then put them maybe in a folder outside of the software. In this version, all the pages are going to live together and you can see them all in the page panel. So a couple things we can do here that I want to point out. One is you can copy and paste pages that you already have. I'm going to kind of try and make this page a little less weird before I do that. All right, still pretty weird. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll just let it be. Okay, so I have a page and we see it. We see a thumbnail view of it right here in the page panel. In this little thumbnail view, notice there's a teeny tiny cog. This teeny tiny cog allows you to have a drop-down menu that gives you some things you can do. I seem to have this button kind of stuck though. Oh, I know it. If you access that little cog in that drop-down menu, you see some choices. And one of the choices is copy. So select copy and then select paste. And in the meantime, I'm going to close the other 400 things I have open because my software, my internet's not happening. Okay, other screens. There we go. Okay. So cog, copy, cog, paste. So why would you want to make an identical copy? I can think of 2 reasons. So I'm going to do it twice so I can show you both of them. So one reason might be maybe this activity I started off with, I just love it. And in my animal unit, we're going to have one page about the farm, but then maybe I'm also going to have a page about the jungle, about some other animal thing, meaning I want it to kind of look the same. I went to all the bother to make the properties like I like them. I want to be able to have the page look the same, but with different content. So I'm on page 1, blue line here in the properties panel tells me, I'm looking at page 1, you can click on the page 2 thumbnail. See, I made the font big on one and small on the other so we could tell the difference. The blue line tells me I'm on page 2. One thing I can do is I can use the selection tool, click, drag, include everything, and then go to the edit tab and I can clear contents. There was a question earlier about how could you erase, and I said you don't really have to, you can overwrite, but you can also clear contents. It leaves all the properties the way I wanted them, right colors and shapes and all that stuff. I went to all that bother, but now I'm ready to make my activity about the jungle on page 2. Now I'm going to toggle to page 3 in my page panel. This blue line tells me I'm looking at page 3. And another reason that people often make identical copies of a page in Word is bingo or some other game where you want to have the same content but reordered. So if we're at page 3, pretend this is a bingo card. I'm going to go to my selection tool, click, drag, select, edit, shuffle. And it will randomly reorder all the content. And so if you were making a bingo game or some lotto, some other game where you wanted randomized content, you could make one card, copy it 5 times, shuffle it 4 times. Make sense? Okay, I can also add blank pages to a project. So now I've got a 3-page project. What if I want a new blank page? Again, way against the left, under the file, under the symbol tool, under the word pages, there's a piece of paper. It looks like a piece of paper at the corner bent tool. Click that. It's going to give me a new page in the middle of your screen. It's just giving you an opportunity to name it something different than page 4. I'm just going to say, okay. So now I have a 4-page activity. Scroll, scroll, scroll. I'm going to click on page 4, and now that's what I'm seeing on my screen is my page 4, my new blank page. So on my new blank page, I want to make a group button. You know group buttons from previous versions. Sometimes we just want to have more than one symbol in a button, but we don't want a symbol-late button. So maybe for your classroom schedule for something like circle time or center time that has multiple aspects, you want multiple symbols. So let's start with a standard button. Button tool, click, drag, and I'm going to make mine big so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with one of the things I know I want in there. So I'm going to make a group button for my schedule that's going to stand for circle time. My circle time, we talk about the weather, we do the calendar, we sing good morning song, and we read the book of the week. So I'm going to start with one of those things, which is sing, S-I-N-G, edit in place, just type in the label, enter, choose the symbol I want, and enter. I've just made a giant sing. To add additional symbols to that, we already know we can't use edit in place because it overwrites. If I try and bring a calendar in there now, it's going to replace sing. So I use a different method, and my different method is back to the properties panel. Look at the top of the properties panel. Properties is a tab. Symbols is also a tab. Click symbols, and now it's a symbols panel. I'm going to search for calendar, type it in and enter, find the one I want, click, drag, drop right into the button I already have. And you know this from your disk. Do I want to replace the first one, add to, or cancel? I want to add to it. As soon as you do that, it's a group button. It will let you resize and reposition any symbols in there. And because you resize, you can put as many in there as you want. I'm just going to go back to the symbols panel. Now I'm going to get weather, click, drag, drop, verify with add to, resize if I need to, repeat as necessary. So you see, I'm kind of arranging these, you know, side by side, up and down, but you can arrange them however you want, including on top of each other. So if our unit right now is Halloween, maybe my book of the week is a Halloween book. I want this to look like a Halloween book. I'm going to turn it into my Halloween book. Now it's a Halloween book. Okay, because you can put symbols right on top of each other. And as you probably already have, very common use of group buttons is for visual supports. If I need a sign on the computer station because computer station is not available today, I might need a visual support that says no computer. Maybe I need a symbol for my schedule. Gee, it's Monday. We don't have circle time. On Mondays, we have building assembly. On my schedule, I want a symbol that indicates no circle time. So I'm going back over here to my symbols panel. I'm going to search with the term not, N-O-T, to get that universal don't do it symbol. Click, drag, drop, add to, resize, reposition. And that's how we make those visual supports. So no running, no pushing, no computer time. Once I get the button how I want it, I still have my original label. I'm going to replace that just by selecting that text. And when I start typing, it will overwrite. No circle time today. Okay. Any questions that I deferred that I didn't circle back to?
Any questions? Can you hear
Yes.
me? Okay. Walk them through add to.
So with a group button, so I'm just going to start, by populating it the normal way with edit in place. And then if I want to add additional, I have to use the symbols panel. By default, it's going to say properties. I want to click toward symbols. Then I want to use this little search box to search what I'm looking for. I see the results. I'm going to click, drag, drop, and then I get the menu. Do I want to replace? Do I want the jungle instead of the book, or do I want to add to the book? I want to add to it. And now I can scooch things around. I can change my original symbol, move it over here, or I can put things on top of each other. Either way, it's add to. Did that help? You can also change your mind about how they're ordered. So if over here, I don't want the don't symbol on top, that's what this business is, in between properties and symbols. This is for the advanced layout. I could choose something over here and change the ordering of what's on top. If you'd rather have, if you end up with it out of sync. So that's a group button. Anything that has more than one symbol in it, no matter how they're organized, is a group button. And they behave different. Be thinking of if there's other questions, and while you're thinking, maybe save as our last act here. Let's save this. And then let me know if there's any questions or if you're ready. All right, so when we, remember when we opened the editor, we were on that My BoardMaker page. That My BoardMaker page is still open underneath this. So once you saved, we are going to exit by closing this top window. And we close the top window the way we would any other window. On a PC, red X in the upper corner. On a Mac, red circle in the upper left. You click that, it's going to give you an opportunity to confirm. I say yes, and I'm right back at the My BoardMaker page. So meet me back at My BoardMaker, and let me know when you're here.
I think they're good.
Okay. Okay, so what do you know? When we're on My BoardMaker, by default, we see My Activities. There's the activity that you just made. This is always where activities go. And if you were like me and you waited a while before you initially named and saved, you may see a blank auto-save version from early on when you were creating it. Sometimes it's trying to help you out. It got nervous because I didn't save. You can always delete those straight over to the X, and I can just remove that auto-saved early version. All right, so let's go back to the editor and talk about creating from templates. Creating from scratch is great, and sometimes you're still going to want to, but there's 640 templates, and they make that way easier. So from My BoardMaker tab, click Create Activity. And everything here except the one button we already used is about templates. So let's just look right here on the right. You see some thumbnail views of templates. And the thumbnail views look kind of messy because we're seeing what the template looks like in edit mode. So we see these little pictures, these thumbnails. We see the name of each template in red, which hopefully is descriptive. And we see little icons to the bottom right of each thumbnail view. If it looks like a piece of paper, that means it makes a template. The template makes an activity that's meant to be printed, that's going to be on paper. If the little icon looks like a computer monitor, then it follows that these templates are going to make things that are meant to be played on a computer. And some of the interactive ones, the ones that have a monitor, also have a capital P. That's just within some interactive. Those are the ones, P stands for performance enabled. Those are the ones with performance, right and wrong data. So not all interactive activities are going to have performance data because there are things like games or books or schedules. There's not going to be a right and wrong way to do it. Okay, so on the left, we see a list of really categories. They've taken all 600 templates, put them in categories, made an alphabetical list of the categories. Let's go have a look at a very representative interactive template by narrowing to sorting. So from activity type, click sorting. And now we've narrowed just to 11 templates, some meant to be printed and most interactive and with performance. Okay, and you can scroll down and see there's different numbers of groups, different numbers of items to sort. Other than that, they behave the same. And I see the kind of messy thumbnail. Let's go middle of the road. So find sorting, 2 groups, 10 items. We see it's interactive. We see show sample and select. I'm going to launch the sample so we can see what an example made with this template would look like. Maybe you just watch. we'll just spend a minute in the sample and then we'll make our own. So I'm going to launch the sample by showing show sample. It's going another window on top of what I already have open. As usual, I'm going to go full screen as usual. Okay, so in this sample, 2 group 10 item sort, I see 2 categories and I see what it looks like and I can interact with it. It's drag and drop. I can drag and drop.
That's right. A napkin is thrown away.
I hear feedback. The student hears feedback. What happens when I get things wrong?
That doesn't belong there.
Again, I get feedback. If I perseverate with that wrong answer,
A newspaper is recycled.
then it gives me the right answer. So by default, these simple templates are in what's called supported mode. They are going to give the student some feedback. That's a setting. You may also opt to have it in what's called independent mode, where it's like a quiz and it'll take any answer right or wrong. Okay, so we see what it looks like. We see what it acts like. The beauty of templates is all of the architecture that you're seeing is already there. The computer programming that makes things drag and drop, buttons already made, etc. Let's go look at what it looks like in edit mode. So I'm going to leave the sample by clicking stop. Do I mean it? Yes, I do. So we're back here sorting 2 groups, 10 items. Let's make one. Click the blue word that says select. And now it's going to launch that same template, but unpopulated and in edit mode. First thing you want to do as it's launching, I'm guessing you can guess based on how many times I say it, go full screen. And the second thing you want to do as you're opening a template is open the page panel over here on the left so that you can see everything you have to work with. This particular template, all the business is on one page. Okay, we verify that, then we can close the page panel. But easily 50% of templates have multiple pages, and it just makes sense to know what you have when you start. Okay, obviously we're in the editor. We've got rulers, we've got tools. The other thing we see in templates in the editor are those little red words that tell you what to do. It's directions for you. And like you saw in recycling, in play mode, the little red words don't show. So let's do what they say. Place group titles and symbols in title boxes. That sounds more confusing than you need to. Take your cursor, click right on top of group 1. So select the green button and feel free to use your own vocabulary here. I choose this because the template is representative, but also because sorting is very amenable, right, to any content. You can sort color, shape, function, location, category, numbers, letters, whatever. So feel free to use anything. I'm going to do something simple. So select the green button. We know about edit in place overriding. Don't have to worry about anything that's there. Just put your hand on your keyboard and start typing. I typed a word. I want a symbol. Enter. I choose a symbol. Enter. It's the same thing we've done with all the other buttons we've populated. Then take your cursor right on top of the purplish button for group 2. Pretend there's nothing in there. Hands on your keyboard, type what you want that label to be, and enter. Choose the symbol you want to use there, and enter. Okay, so we're just doing the same old, same old. How, everybody good? The red words say that these 5 buttons on the left, I should populate with items that go in the group on the left, and that these 5 buttons on the right, I should populate with items that go with the group on the right. We're teaching the template where things go. And like we saw in recycling, in play mode, it's going to mix them all up and put them at the bottom. So I can just select a button, type, same old, same old. With these interactive templates, you may not add more buttons. You may not remove buttons, but you don't have to populate all the buttons. If 10 is too many, for me, I just populate the buttons I want to be a part of this, and the rest just won't show in play mode, and I'll show you what I mean by that shortly. And yes, you may use images from a web search or from your computer. That's perfectly fine. So the same kinds of things we could do with symbols from scratch, we can do here too. You'll notice the next button in the sequence gets auto-selected, but you don't have to go in order. You can choose any button that you want. And populate in any order. How's everyone doing?
We're
Good.
doing great.
Any questions about anything? When you have a minute, please go to the File tab. From the drop-down, Save Activity As, and give your sort a name. And say OK. So you may have seen in the upper right-hand corner, there's a green button that says play. This is not how you or students are really ever going to play. It's just for when you're in the editor and you just want to kind of try it out. So you can go to play and just segue over into play mode. I only populated 6 buttons, so I just have a 6-item sort. I didn't delete any buttons. I just left some of them blank. But I can see what it looks like. I can see what it acts like.
That's right. Paper belongs in rectangles. That's right. Hula hoop belongs in circles.
And then to go back into edit, this upper left-hand corner, return to design mode. So really, all we had to do was fill in some buttons, right? We didn't have to worry about creating buttons or the right kinds of buttons or making them have that computer programming that would make them be a drag and drop. Templates are awesome. We'll just spend a couple more minutes here. I promise I'll show you how you can always get back in to activities, to change them or finish them, whatever. And make sure your last act here is to save as and give it a name, unless you've already done that, in which case you can save. If you go to save and save activity is grayed out like it is on mine, that just means I'm current with the saving. I haven't done anything new since the last time I saved it. So if it won't let you save, that means you don't need to. And then when you're finished, we're going to close this window. And we know what's underneath it. back to my BoardMaker, and now I see both of my activities. The print first one we made, and now I see my sort in my activity list. So meet me back at my activities under the My BoardMaker tab.
We do have a question, if that's okay.
Okay.
Can you print those activities? That top activity that we just made?
If it is a print activity, then yes. Here in your activity list, you see a toolbar to the right of activities, and if it's a print activity, it'll have a print tool there. If you wish you could print a not print activity, so like an interactive activity, you wish you could print, there's a workaround. So I'm just gonna open this in play mode for a minute to show you. If I wanted to print this, and maybe I want my kids to cut these out and put them up here, I can't just print it, but I can, oops, I can, here we go, there's the tool. Make a screenshot, save it, and print that. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay. I'm a little getting nervous about time, but there are 600 templates. I just want to show you one more. So let's go to create activity one more time. And let's just look very quickly at a book. So select first create activity, then from this template picker, books and presentations. Within books, we see the same kind of thing, right? We see thumbnail views, some of them interactive, some of them print. And the differences besides print or interactive are that where the text is, the red title will tell you its text is on the left, text is on the right, text is at the top, text is at the bottom, etc. When you go in to make a book about fall or about your classroom or about your students, keep in mind, some of them meant to be interactive, some of them meant to be printed. You cannot print an interactive book, but you can sort of play a print book, meaning it's not going to read aloud because it's just print, but you could show it nice, clean, in play mode on your smart board, and you can read the words or the kiddos can read the words. They're going to look kind of the same in edit mode. So I'm going to just select one and feel free to come along, pick select for any of the books. And as it's launching full screen, I chose one of the interactive books. And full screen, remember, is what you want to do number one, and what you want to do number two is page panel. Because perfect example, yes, we have many pages in a book, right? And we want to be able to go from page to populate that book. Okay, so the one I chose, kind of a bad example, I chose apparently one that has symbol only, no text. So it's a picture book, but most on the title page, I still have text and a symbol. And once again, we want to keep in mind, edit and place overwrites. I can just choose a button and type what I want it to say. And I can just choose the symbol area and do edit and place to go find a picture. So the same thing we've been doing. Okay, and we know those red words aren't going to show in play mode. And then I would just toggle to the next page, etc. So if I want to write a 11-page book, and I have 10 pages in my template, remember, this is another good example of why would you want to copy more pages? I can go to the template and use that little cog and copy and paste and make this book long enough for War and Peace if I want to. And all the pages will be identical because I'm copying right here from the template, within the template. Makes sense? And then now I'm gonna go to this page and populate, and then now I'm gonna go to this page. Any questions about book?
No questions.
Okay, if you started something that you want to come back to, just go to File, Save As, give it a name. And okay, and then let's exit here with the red X. Do we mean it? Yes, we do. So here we are back at the My BoardMaker page. Let's take just a minute and talk about finding activities already made. The most work, of course, is creating activities from scratch, one button at a time. Quite a bit easier to use templates and just fill in the blanks. Even easier is going to community and finding activities already made. In your red toolbar, you have a community tab. If you hover over that, you see there's several options, and all of them have to do with kind of finessing your use of the community, making community friends, making groups, joining groups, etc. For just a search, I just want to go find something. I don't even need that tab. I use the magnifying glass tool. So please click the magnifying glass, and now your whole red toolbar is a search box. You can search really virtually for anything. And please, in your individual cases, search for something that will come in handy. If you're doing a pumpkin unit, search pumpkins. If you're doing a Columbus Day unit, search Columbus Day. So we can search by very specifically, like the name of a book, or you could search very generically, like the word book, or by any other concept or attribute, etc. Type something in there and enter. And let's look at how to interpret the results that you get. So I typed pretty narrowly. I typed the little old lady wasn't afraid of anything. And I see immediately some thumbnail views of activities people have shared. And I can tell interactive, print, interactive. What I recommend is that we narrow the results. And there are several criteria over here in the column on the left. Some of these are going to be, in my opinion, critical. So you can narrow in this top group. If you all opt to share your activities, you can share with the whole wide world, but you can also opt to share just with your organization, meaning nobody except people in your district can find it. So if you all start doing that, you might narrow by your organization. And then you see subjects, category, grade level, etc. I strongly recommend you narrow by activity version, particularly if you're looking for something interactive that you can do on your smartboard or iPad or computer. Let's narrow to BoardMaker Online and maybe to BoardMaker Studio because it's very, very similar. BoardMaker version 5 and 6, they're great, but that technology is older than the flip phone. So keep it in mind. I want the new stuff. So I'm going to narrow online and studio. And then very often you can narrow by type. If you know when you start a search, I want something I can print, or I want something interactive. So I'm going to narrow mine to interactive. Now I have some results. And if I want to see something up close, I can click on the name. There you go. Now I see the thumbnail big. I see there's a bunch of activities kind of stuck together. I have a book, I have a sequence, I have accounting, I have a matching, I have a labeling. Seriously, someone did a lot of work and I love other people's work. I want this. All I have to do is click this plus. Add to my activities. It makes a copy of nice Lauren Mitchell's work and puts it in my activity list as if I made it. I'm going to use the back arrows and go back to the search and see if there's anything else. Ah, stamping. I'm going to click on that name. I see it big. Stamping, there's a template for that. We can drag this stuff onto the background picture. If I want this, I'm just going to click the plus sign. Okay, so as you're looking at activities on the community, they don't even have to be perfect, because once it's in your activity list, you can edit it. You can change it. Just like if you made it yourself, you can make changes a little or a lot. So grab just a couple of things. Grab, look. Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I want that too. So in less than 2 minutes, I just got about 2 hours worth of work from somebody. Any questions about the community?
I have a question. I'm in a
Okay.
pumpkin sorting by color, and there's a gold bar above the top, and it says that you can download the activity.
Yeah,
So when I
so-
hit that, they want a CD.
correct. So downloading, unless you still have access to your CDs, you don't ever care about downloading. Downloading, because the community is used by people with all kinds of versions. In BoardMaker Online, we add. In other versions, they download. So if you still have your disc, sure, you can download it and play it with your disc in your computer. Otherwise, you don't ever care about download. That makes sense? You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, I hope you found something. Let's take just a second and add a student, and then we'll talk about managing. So from wherever you are, you could see a red toolbar if you left the community. And we have a students tab. So hover over the word students, and then the very top item in that drop-down menu is student management. Click student management. On my screen, I already have some students, so you're seeing my roster. You may have students. Scroll below any students on the roster to the Add a Student area and find the red button that says Add Now. So this is directions, blah, blah, blah. Click Add Now. And we start off with just 3 bits of information: ID, first name, last name. And again, you don't have to use student accounts, but you certainly may, and I want you to see how to add them. Student ID for today, maybe you just make something up. Can be numbers, can be letters. I'm guessing you don't have a pocket full of student IDs. It does have to be unique within your district. So you can't everyone in Tri-County can't put in 1, 2, 3, 4, but you could put in something like your phone number or your birthday or something that you know would be unique. And first name and last name, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. And then this check global roster. This is a little interim step. And when you click on check global roster, it's not going to happen today. I know you all just started, but next week or next year, you may get a note here that says, wait a minute, John's already in the district roster. Do you want him on your particular instructor roster also? And you can say yes. It's just trying to keep you from adding the same student multiple times. Assuming that didn't happen, then it brings you to a larger profile, and we need a username and password. Again, something systematic that you would be able to remember. Think about username as student-facing, maybe parent-facing. You as the instructor can access a student's assignments without username and password, but they still have to have it. Username has to be unique, password does not. Parent email is optional, and the only reason it's in here is if you opt to share login information with parents, if you want Johnny to be able to go home and read that book, that interactive book at home that you've assigned to him, for example, or do the matching or whatever, play the game. If the parent email is in here, it's very easy to set up that invitation, show them how to get in. Grade level optional, picture optional, instructor. This is important. Even though I filled this form all out to this point, it doesn't know I'm the instructor yet. You have to click to the drop-down menu and find yourself. So all of the Tri-County accounts will be in there. Find your name, click it, and then the word add, so that my name appears below assigned instructors. And you can share students if, depending on your circumstances, but maybe teacher plus SLP plus whatever, OT, all are associated with a student. This student may be put on multiple rosters. That's perfectly fine. In special education, we share students. Any questions about this form? Or about anything?
Would you be able to very quickly review how we would upload an activity that we've already completed with the CD? And specifically, we have a Tap It board, which is an interactive board, and I have a folder that has maybe 10 boards on it that are all linked together, so when the students touch an arrow, it goes to the next board. So how would I upload that to BoardMaker Online and have it work?
All right. So let's close this, and right, you can probably figure out save and close will get us out of that student. And hopefully you see the student at the top of your roster. And let's scroll up. So what you're talking about is called uploading, and as luck would have it, that's what this business right here is about. It's telling you how to upload, or telling you you can. I'm going to close that. Come with me. Activities on the red toolbar, and you see where it says upload multiple. Let's go to upload multiple activities, and it takes us to this uploader. I'm going to fly through this like lightning. However, if you click read instructions, it will give you a PDF step by step. If you click this little play, it'll give you a little video of how to do this. So basically, I'm going to use browse. I'm going to go find, of course, you have to be on the computer where the activities were made or have it on USB drive. Browse, I'm going to go, if it's from the disk, those activities are in my documents, my boards, and mine's weird because I have a new computer, so I had to put them in, I had to import them. Oops, but I tried to make some be in the right place. Here we go. If you have a folder of activities, you will want to first zip that folder, and you can just do that by right click. So you see I'm on a folder, and then do send to and tell it to zip it up. Okay. And then it's so if you're just doing single activities, we just are going to choose them all. But if you have them already foldered, click that zip file as what you're choosing. And then I'm going to oops. I'm trying to find some that would look more typical. I can do it this way. So this is a different version, but if you have single activities that are not in a folder, you're just going to click on them one at a time, the ones you want, hold down your control key. And then, so I want this one and that one and this one, plus I want that zip file. I can do all of those and then click open. And here they all are in a row. I say, yep, upload those. And it starts. I don't have to stay at this page for the whole process, but as the directions say, as soon as this green line gets there for all the activities, so it's already done, I can move on. I don't have to sit here and watch it. And as they're uploaded, they're going to show me a list, but they're also going to appear in my BoardMaker where the stuff we've made or got from community. It's all going to go the same place. All right, so as you upload it, it will appear, as those finish, they're going to appear here in my activity list, along with stuff we made today and stuff I found from community. Okay, so that was activities and upload multiple. And remember, if that was way too fast, you can read step by step or watch step by step. Okay? Okay, very quickly, I know I want to be respectful of your time. We've got these activities. What in the world can we do with them? Okay, so more of them just popped in that I just uploaded. Next to every single activity and I'm still in my activities list, is a toolbar that tells you what you can do with it. I'm going to see the thumbnail view. I'm going to see the icon that tells me print, interactive, etc. And then to the right, a toolbar. If it's a print activity, I have a print icon. I select print. I'm going to get a print dialog box. I'm in Chrome. Your print dialog box might look different if you're using a different browser, but you can choose how many pages, how many copies. If you are printing overlays, you want actual size and then continue. I can see a preview of the activity and I can change whether I want to PDF or more settings. Okay, this is something I just brought in from that I just uploaded, and I see the orientation is funky. I'm going to want to edit that and change the orientation before I print it because it was from version 5. But I can print or I can save as a PDF here in the printing settings. Print. The next tool we see is play. I can play any interactive activity. I want to play this activity that had all those cool things we could do up on my smart board. I just select play. It's going to launch in play mode. My class can interact with it up on the smart board. When we finish, I close it. It's just going to take me back here. If it is a print activity and I launch it in play, so like a book, I can still see it nice, clean up on my screen. It just won't really do anything if it's a print activity. So print, play, and there's edit. Hey, when earlier today we started that sort, I didn't finish it. I want to go back in and finish it. I just select the edit tool. It's going to open it back in edit mode and I can keep working on it. By the same token, I want to make some changes to something I got from community. I can open it in edit. The next tool is assign. This is how we make assignments to particular students. I can click my assign activity tool and it gives me my whole roster. I click assign, it's asking me who, great, who do you want to assign it to? And I can assign it to 1, 2, or all of my students, and then click assign. The activity still lives here in my activity list. It just made a copy of it and put it in the student's assignment list as well. The next tool is playlist. Playlist is important as a way to kind of organize and set things aside, but most important if you use the iPad app. Do you all use iPads instructionally? Yes, no?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. The iPad app, very cool. Things play nicely on it. It does not do all the things we've done today. It is essentially a player, and it plays 2 categories of activities. Anything you've assigned to any student you can access on that app, and anything you've put in your playlist. So if you want an activity available on your iPad app, put it in your playlist. And you can put a gazillion activities in your playlist, as you'll see in a minute, and that's perfectly fine. I can view my playlist right here, see what's in it, take things out of it, play activities from within. But I'm also going to see all of these activities that are on my playlist on the Student Center app. So the Student Center app on your iPad, not on a phone, go to the App Store and search, just use the word BoardMaker, download Student Center app. It's free. There is a one-time setup to marry that app to your account. And there's a tutorial for that. And I can, if I didn't already send, did I already send that tutorial and others? Maybe. I'll make sure that I do. Jessica, and you can, or whoever wants it, and you can distribute. All right. So we're just talking about managing again: print, play, edit, assign, playlist. Once again, you see that pointy down arrow, and it sounds like perhaps if you do still have access to your disk. If I wanted, I just downloaded or uploaded this from my disk version. I can print it, use it in BoardMaker Online, but if I wanted to use it offline with my disk, I would use that down arrow. I can also organize activities in folders or activity sets. A folder, so here where it says show newest, I'm just going to change that to folder so I can show you one. Activities are within this folder. Notice the toolbar that goes with the folder. You can't really do anything with it until you open the folder. Then I see all the activities that are in it, and then I see, so I use folders really to get things out of the way. Maybe Halloween, after Halloween, I'm gonna make a folder and put everything in it. Activity sets are a slightly different way to organize activities, and we saw this icon on the community. These are activities that are married together, and look at the toolbar that goes with activity sets. I can put my whole science activity set in a student's assignments or in my playlist. So maybe my book about fall, a matching about fall, a hidden picture about fall, all together that I want a student to go play with their parents tonight. I can put that activity set with all those activities married together in his assignment list.
I have a question. Are you able to link symbols to jump to, say, for example, YouTube pages? So if I have a page where kids are selecting books or songs, that it would just jump to the YouTube video of that song or book being played or read?
Yes. So that is more advanced programming, but yes, you can do that. We have another session. I don't know if it's going to be us or a different group. Does anyone there know?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
At this point, we're not sure about that.
Okay. Um,
I think we have another question.
I can.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I think you were going to answer her question, and then we have one more question.
I was just going to say, when I send the iPad tutorial, I'll also send the using media tutorial for how you could incorporate movie or other media in activities. Okay. Yep. Any other questions before I?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
You said you can download things if you have the disk. Is that the only time, or I know you can access all your programs online, but say for some reason you wanted to save to a jump drive, is that a possibility?
Yes. So if you have activities already on your computer from your disk version, you can drag those onto a USB drive, a jump drive. If you find things on the community and they are from disk version, so whatever version you had, 5 or 6, you can download them, get them on, add them to your activity list, and then download, which would put it on my desktop, and then drag them to a jump drive. Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, one more thing, if you can bear it. I know it's a lot. I just want to show you, if you're interested in student playing for student data, Students tab, My Classroom View. So on a computer, Students tab, My Classroom View, what it takes you to is this landing page where there's you and all the students on your roster. So maybe I have this up on my smartboard, or I have it on a computer workstation that kids rotate through. If I click me, I get all the activities I put in my playlist. And as you see, I have a bunch of them, large playlist. Singletons and activity sets. I can play any one of these. We can interact with it on this computer or smart. Back on the landing page, here in Classroom View, if I choose a student, he is logged in by virtue of me clicking his picture. All he can see are the activities that are assigned to him, and anything he plays now will collect data. He picks one, it launches in play mode, he plays it, yada yada.
That's right.
He finishes,
Picture that goes with the word weather.
it just takes him back to his assignment list. Okay, now I could get back to that landing page from my playlist with these people. He can't. We need my password, you know, your normal password, the word you got used for BoardMaker earlier today. And that's just in case someone is working independently on a computer, they can't go back and do another student's work. Okay, the iPad app emulates this very thing. If you log in as you on the iPad app, you're going to have Classroom View where you can play anything from your playlist, but you can also access any student's assignments. Any questions about anything? I know this is a lot at lightning speed. I'm so sorry you had technical issues to start, but it sounds like everything, once it was working, is working.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Well, please let me know if I can help with anything. If you're at all inclined and you are a Facebook person, there is a BoardMaker Facebook page. We won't stalk you, but you could like it. They give away free stuff, and there's implementation ideas, little webinars, and so on there. So thank you all very much for your attention, and please let me know if I can help.
Thank you, Sandy. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Let me know.
Okay, we will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. know,